Hello, my name is Kathy Williams and welcome to the first part of Making the Clarinet Sing, which has followed my 8-part series on tone, breathing, legato and making the clarinet sing. Now, if you've been following my 8-part on tone, breathing and legato, by now you would have gotten yourself a decent tone and gotten yourself a decent legato. And it's finally now that we can talk about making the clarinet sing. Now, the easiest way to make the clarinet sing is actually to think and sound like a singer. And that's not all that difficult. When I was first learning to play the Schumann Fantasy Stücke, my teacher said to me, well, if you're playing Schumann, listen to some of Schumann's Lieder. And he suggested Dichterliebe. Although at the time I found the translation of the words so depressing that I couldn't listen to much of it. Now it's actually one of my favourite pieces. I do love a lot of Schumann's Lieder as well as that of Schubert and Brahms. And also when I was at the Royal College of Music, I had the wonderful opportunity every Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, some amazing singing teachers would come in and impart their wisdom to the singers, which I found very applicable to the clarinet as well. So my first recommendation, if you want the clarinet to sing, is actually to listen to singers. Listen to the different gradations of tone, listen to their phrasing, look at their breathing. Because I feel that while a certain amount of singing, feeling and soul when you're playing does come from here and here, just as much actually does come from very nice phrasing and you know, different gradations of tone and colours and so forth. And luckily I've got a mouthpiece that allows me to do that. But because I've listened to so much singing repertoire, I also have the idea in your head, because really it's up here that gives you the music that comes out here. You need to have a conception of what you want the piece to sound like. And this is what I used to do. It's like you may only practice 2 or 3 hours a day, but there's still another, I don't know, 16 or 17 hours, you know, apart from the time you go to sleep, that you can think about what you want your piece to sound like. So, and I used to do this. I used to go over in my head thinking, oh, what can I do with this phrase? What can I do with that phrase, etc. But I find now that because I listen to so much music, and I'm lucky to have a job where I sit down for 8 hours a day and can just plug in the headphones and listen to anything, that most of my musicality is now actually innate, and I don't have to think about it, it just comes out. And I find that, although you probably don't see it when I'm playing my Rosé etudes in here, but if you have a look at my live performances, you'll see just how much I come alive. Because what I want to do is communicate my love of this music to the audience and communicate my enjoyment of playing that music for the audience. So don't restrict yourself to clarinet repertoire. You're really missing out. Some of my favourite stuff is actually like Bach's organ and keyboard works. The Well-Tempered Clavier and all his organ fugues and preludes and stuff. I absolutely love them. And with Mozart, again, his Lieder, his operas, his symphonies, his piano concertos, his piano sonatas, and Beethoven, I absolutely love his piano concertos, although I do have his full set of sonatas, violin sonatas and string quartets. And you do learn so much from all those other works, because when you are playing your piece, you're only getting a small snapshot of what the composer was thinking at the time. You listen to a wider body of their work and you start to get what makes that composer tick. You start to learn the turn of phrase that I like, because Mozart, especially in his operas, had a certain turn of phrase he used to use at the end of each line in his recitative, and you get to know that. So I'll provide a few examples, and also provide examples of, you don't need to restrict one tone to the one composer. I believe that composers require, like, let's take Brahms, the Brahms sonatas. Now, I would not play the first movement of the Brahms F minor the same as I would do the Brahms E flat major, simply because they are two very different pieces of music, even though they are by the same composer. For the start of the F minor, I would indeed have a very dark, centered, intense German sound. So very, very intense. Although for the second movement, I'd ease up a little bit and just make it lyrical, very, very light and just floating, but and I would keep this sort of light, sort of a very relaxed and open lyrical musical singing sound at the beginning of the E flat major. So so I don't know if you're actually picking out that in the phrase, it's not a continuous sound. It's not sort of a block of sound. Because that's a flat sound. That's really not taking into account all of Brahms's nuances. So. You see, I'm playing with it all around the place. It makes it very musically interesting. Whereas the start of the next movement, I would use that very, very heavy, centered, thick, intense. Etc. etc. And the reason I love composers such as Schumann, Schubert, Brahms, Mozart is they did write so much vocal music, and their music really does sing. Their music probably sings a lot more than perhaps Berio.